Diplomacy or disaster? What's going to be the end game in the current US-Iran nuclear standoff? The United States has built one of the largest military deployments near Iran since the Iraq War. 2 aircraft carrier strike groups, more than 120 aircrafts deployed, stealth fighters, air superiority jets, surveillance aircraft, refueling tankers ready for weeks of sustained operations, cruise missiles destroyers positioned within reach. And all of this were happening when 2 rounds of nuclear negotiations were happening between Iran and the US. President Trump has said Iran has 10 to 15 days at most to agree to a deal. But Iran is unfolding in the face of such intense military pressure. Why? It's time to ask. Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff said in a Fox News interview that President Trump is frustrated that despite the naval and air power built up, Iran has not yet capitulated. Witkoff is asking why Iran has not come to the US and said, "We don't want a bomb and we are ready for compromises." That Iran is not yet showing signs of weakness. That statement tells us where Washington stands. So first, let's see what kind of military buildup are we actually talking about. The US's Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is already operating close to Iranian territory. It's a floating airbase. It carries dozens of fighter jets capable of striking nuclear facilities, missile sites, and command centers in Iran. And around it, there are destroyers carrying Tomahawk cruise missiles. These missiles can hit targets inside Iran without pilots even entering Iranian airspace. Then comes the USS Gerald R. Ford, the largest aircraft carrier in the world. If both carriers operate together, that gives the US the capacity for a sustained air campaign. The refueling tankers are also important. You do not move that many tankers unless you're preparing for a long-range repeated sorties. That's readiness for weeks. So the US is prepared for a long, sustained campaign. And Trump has reportedly even been presented with military options for selective strikes to assassinate Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei and his son. Now the real issue. Why hasn't Iran folded despite all of this military pressure? Iran has signaled it may compromise on nuclear enrichment. But the US and Israel want more. They want Iran to dismantle its ballistic missile program. For Tehran, that's not negotiable. It's a red line. Ballistic missiles are Iran's main deterrent. It does not have an advanced air force like Israel or the US. Its missiles arsenal is what allows Iran to protect its sovereignty and also to prevent any foreign invasion. So from Iran's perspective, giving up missiles means removing its shield or its deterrence. And there is another calculation. Even if Iran agrees to nuclear restrictions, Israel will still consider Iran's missile capability as a threat. So surrendering missiles does not guarantee safety for Iran. So why would Iran dismantle its own credible deterrent, which is the ballistic missile program, if it cannot guarantee safety? Then there is the political layer. The Iranian regime cannot be seen as capitulating under visible American pressure. This regime survives on projecting resistance, especially after the American power. So backing down under American pressure weakens its authority internally. And Iran has already faced massive protests, domestically economic collapse, and sanctions pressure. So the leadership knows that the perception of weakness can be dangerous domestically. And then endurance becomes part of regime survival. And here is something even more important that we have to look at. This time, Iran appears to be prepared for this escalation. Reports suggest that Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei has issued directives to senior leadership to prepare succession layers in case of his assassination or communication disruptions. Officials have reportedly been instructed to name multiple replacements. So that means the system is planning for sustained conflict, and they're preparing for the worst case scenario too. While the US builds sea power, Iran has also been flexing its muscles. So it's not just preparations, they are also militarily ready. Naval drills in the Strait of Hormuz, missile launchers are positioned along its western frontier, and Iran signals that if attacked, retaliation will follow. And Iran has demonstrated before that it can strike Israel directly. It can target US bases in the Gulf. Iran can activate allied proxy groups across the region. And most importantly, it can disrupt the Strait of Hormuz. Nearly 20% of global oil flows through that narrow waterway. Disrupt it, and the world economy will feel the shockwaves. So, where does this leave us? Washington believes the maximum pressure will force concessions. Tehran thinks endurance will outlast pressure. Both sides believe they are acting from strength. That's the dangerous point, because both sides think that the other will blink first. So the question is whether either side is miscalculating the other's endurance. And once the first strike happens, whether it is selective or sustained, can anyone really control what follows? This is Anjana Shankar, and you're watching Ask. If you like this video, will you consider sharing this with a friend? Thank you for watching, and see you again.